many cities spend a lot of time and energy and money trying to attract outside investment. They want some big corporation to come along and build a factory to create jobs, or some real estate developer to build a brand new, beautiful building. But we can invest in our own communities. What if I told you a little bit more about how we can invest in our own communities instead of waiting for someone else to come along and do it, and why that is so important? And before I do that, check out the link below that has some information about how you can invest in Baltimore. Anyone can invest in Baltimore. So, I first want to talk about community economic development. So, most cities have a community economic development department or an economic development department. In Baltimore, we have the Greater Baltimore Committee. Many cities have things like that. And a lot of them will focus on trying to attract outside business. They'll put a lot of resources toward meetings with business people who are looking for a place to put their next factory or to locate their business. And the purpose for that obviously is that if businesses come in from outside and invest in new infrastructure, new factories, new businesses, use new space, that does create new wealth in the community, but it also takes so much of the control out of our hands. We kind of just have to woo these businesses that maybe don't have any real connection to Baltimore and like convince them this is the place you should be and here's why, and wine and dine them and show them why of all the different places they're looking at, they should choose Baltimore. And oftentimes we have to make compromises to do that. We might have to sacrifice standards that are important to us, like environmental standards or labor standards. So I think when we invest in our own community, it's a very different situation. Because if we're investing in our own community with our own money, we're investing in a place that we already live in and love, and no one needs to convince us of how important it is to invest in our own community and to make our community better. So also, when outside companies do come in and invest in Baltimore, oftentimes a lot of the wealth that's generated from that economic activity flows right back out of Baltimore because there's absentee owners or shareholders who are benefiting from any, profits that come from those activities. Whereas if we invest in our own community, when that investment becomes profitable, and we get the money from our investment, we start to spend it in our own community, and that money recirculates in our community. So we don't want to be at the mercy of outside investors. There's nothing wrong with people coming into our community and investing. That's great. But we don't want to put all of our eggs in that basket because it can be extractive. The money can flow right back out, and we have no control over those investments. We don't have any say in what they look like or how they affect our community or who gets the jobs. When we invest in our own community, we might have a lot more say in what those investments do in our community, what that money does in our community. So one way that we can do this, because most of us don't have those big giant checks that we can write to make a big giant investment in our community, like a new factory, a new building, whatever. However, collectively, we have a lot of money. I've said this before, but if just 1% of the investment portfolios of Baltimoreans was invested in Baltimore instead of invested in public companies on the stock market, that would be an additional $3 billion of capital injected into Baltimore. And we can all be a part of that. I'm not talking about other people, I'm talking about us. So we can invest in our own community. And I have a way that you can do that in the link below. There's a website called Small Change, and that's a website that allows you to make investments in real estate. And there's a few campaigns up there, and there's one up there that is a Baltimore project. We call it the Mulberry. It's at 15 West Mulberry Street. I've been leading that project. I've already raised $2.6 million for that project. I've brought in a federal investment tax credit. I've brought in investors from all over the country. We do have some local investors, but there's people from all over the country who have invested. There's even one woman whose family made a lot of wealth when they were living in Baltimore. She has now moved to California, but she still cares about Baltimore, so she made a big investment in this real estate project. We're now trying to raise a little bit more money. I don't want to say the amount because there's some legal issues with that, but if you look at the link below, you'll see more details. So we're raising a little bit more money to be able to finish the building renovation and open it for business. The building is a for-profit business. It's going to generate money by renting some furnished apartments on the upper floors. And on the first floor, we're going to have a lot of community activities focused on growing access to capital for local small businesses by promoting this idea that we can all be investors. So I hope you will consider taking a look at the link below and consider investing in the Mulberry.